without you guys here, there is no show. Mm-hmm. There is nothing else happens if it's not for if it wasn't for the 10 of you here in DC lobbying and putting in the good fight day to day. Like, there would be no show at the end of the year.
Yeah.
How can we get that tied in with the show so that way those guys that go to show off that build also know that they're at risk of losing that opportunity to build that cool shit? What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Dirt Drive Podcast, your favorite off-road podcast, coming to you from one of the least off-roady places in the world. We are in, I guess the SEMA office in DC is pretty off-roady.
This might be the most off-roady thing in the district.
Fair. We did see a GX550.
And we drove one Jeep.
We drove a GX470.
Yeah.
But we're here with Karen, and I already forgot your name. I'm very bad at this.
Matt.
Matt, okay. Karen
so you
and
really
Matt.
are just filler.
I really am.
Yeah. No, I mean, come on, hang out. Where were we? It was the example of how I'm bad with names. We met Spags and Mike Good last year here at the Washington Rally.
Oh, yeah.
And they both had the same names. I couldn't remember either of their names.
Okay.
And I'm like, these are probably the two of the most important dudes I'll meet podcasting, and I cannot remember their names for the life.
And they have
of
the
me.
same
You mean
name.
both of them have the mic?
Yeah.
Yeah, you couldn't remember Mike.
In your hand?
Yeah.
So good point.
Yeah.
So what are we doing here in DC today? You can be as formal as or informal as you want. This is
Okay, well,
just
don't let
hang
the
out
suit,
talking.
throw you off. Because I'm obviously not in my typical off-road gear, but yeah, I don't know. Would you want me to cover? What do we do? What are we doing?
Yeah, why are we here in DC?
Why are we here?
Yeah.
I mean, is that like a sort of an existential question that we all kind of examine? But
It's a different podcast.
That's a whole different podcast. Or we just have those conversations over some bourbon and other finest sundries. But
Hey,
yeah, we're here.
We have the hookup.
There we go. Right,
Yep.
my local
Product placement.
Excellent. So yeah, we're here in Washington, D.C. because we're really kind of on the cusp of some pretty major legislation that we're trying to get pushed related to EV mandates and internal combustion engine bans. Basically, Congress has the opportunity to overturn California's EV mandate / internal combustion engine ban, and it's through sort of this whole like mumbo jumbo procedural process, administrative law that I won't bore everybody with, but it's the opportunity for Congress to really to weigh in on this issue. It's an issue that's been floating around for a while, and we've really it's come to a head. Something that played obviously a major issue in the last presidential campaign, and so right now we brought 30 folks in, I think it is now, for a quick fly-in to help show support.
Quick fly-in.
Very quick. All of 2 weeks, I think we gave you guys notice of that.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's easy for us. It's a
you
relatively
guys are
short
down the road,
drive. But
yeah. Well, as I always say to folks, I'm like, we don't really have the luxury in this office to be like, I'm sorry, can we call Congress and say, can you pause for a couple weeks while we get our act together? We don't really have that luxury.
Scramble.
Yeah, exactly.
It's more of a tobacco industry thing, right?
I mean, maybe back in the 90s.
30 years ago.
Yeah, one thing I've been impressed, and I actually mentioned it to Mike, is one thing that I've been impressed with recently is SEMAs seem to have gone from like the show to now we're incorporating in like how do we maintain the industry opposed to just having this cool show. And that's a big push that I've been when I come to DC, I park at the Wilbur.
Willard,
here.
yeah.
Willard
Yeah.
Hotel.
Yep.
When I come to DC, I park at the Willard. I walk down here, I go to the Warner Theater. I've walked past this office hundreds
Who
of
the
times.
hell works there?
Yeah. I didn't know
I assumed it was an apartment building.
Yeah, I assumed it was a living or apartment building or something. I had no idea it was here. But to know that you guys are 3 blocks from the White House, putting in the good fight and
Yeah, no, it's I think that's something that we've probably as an industry somewhat taken for granted. Although even though the advocacy office has been part of SEMA for like a few decades, the fact is that I think a lot of people kind of think, oh, that'll never happen. Like when we go back to like banning ICE engines, it's like, oh, that'll never happen. That's just crazy talk. And the fact is, like, we're really literally we're at the precipice.
Yeah,
we're
60
sitting
days
there,
to make it happen.
Yeah, we're looking like over the cliff, and our toes are kind of hanging off. Or if for a Jeep person, my tires are hanging off, and I don't like that because I don't like heights. But so really, this is a major moment for us to be able to push back in a really big way. But yeah, I mean, we're not just limited obviously to the EV stuff because I mean, look, we're not anti-EV. We like anything that rolls on 4 wheels, 2 wheels, even I'm sure we have some 1-wheel enthusiasts out there.
We just watched King of the Hammers.
Yeah.
There was one
yes,
racing
there
King of the
are.
Hammers.
Even
Those
at
guys are
West
crazy.
Virginia Hill Fest last year,
Yeah.
there were a bunch of, electric unicycle guys. They were pretty amazing. So anyways, but this is just sort of one of many issues that we deal with. So it's everything from access to public land for the off-roading community, the
That's one
ability
thing that's
for
been in the light. I mean, the
Huge.
EV stuff, but the most recent thing is the forestry, the stuff that was literally earlier this week is the forests, cut down all the
Service.
trees
Yeah.
And like my wife's like, you voted for that. I'm like, yeah, that doesn't mean I can't fight against the thing. Like I voted for some policies, I voted against some policies.
Right.
But the policies I voted, like, I can still go out and fight for that.
Right.
So as cool as, like, we're here for the EVs, as cool as EVs are,
There's
like,
so many other things.
I want to fight against it to make it an option for everyone to have an option for everything.
Well, that's exactly it. We're vehicle technology neutral, and we want to return that way because, quite frankly, we've gotten to this point because of innovation, because of American innovation, and but we also do the sort of less sexy stuff like tax policy.
Yeah.
Because what happens to small businesses, and that's something that's going to be is obviously top of mind right now. What happens to small businesses being able to do things like having R&D credits for the stuff that we're inventing for tomorrow, capital investment. When people are building racetracks, being able to get some of that capital investment back sooner, so people have that tax relief to be able to continue to invest. So I think there's a whole wide swath of issues that we deal with. It's just the EV mandate, internal combustion engine ban thing is just really obviously taken an incredibly prominent role in the headlines.
Well, and I mean, all the other ancillary things to it wouldn't really matter if we're all stuck driving robots around, right?
Right.
Like you don't need a racetrack anymore if nobody's racing cars.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, if you go back to 100 years ago, 200 years ago, well, 150 years ago, anybody will race anything. So, like, I'm sure if we went EV, car guys will find a way to race it.
Racing long distance. Yeah.
But there's so many other layers to it, with the Right to Repair Act and, just OEs locking down things. Like, I deal with it. I pay multiple subscription fees just to be able to change a tire size in a Jeep.
Exactly.
Like it's,
Exactly.
that's a big thing, especially with the exemptions the EVs have in all that for sales and the dealerships and all the other stuff. It just makes it way more complicated for everybody.
So one thing you mentioned earlier in our meeting with everyone here was the difference between politics and advocacy.
Yeah.
Like that was eye-opening for me. Can you talk on that for our listeners a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I think the reality is politics is a little bit overwhelming and polarizing for people. People are like, oh, I don't want to get involved in politics. Like, what we do is politics. We're doing the meetings on the Hill. We're talking to the regulators. We're having those conversations that need to be had in back rooms. Advocacy is really a nonpartisan thing. It's people coming together for something that unifies them and speaking on behalf of it, speaking on behalf of a way of life, speaking on behalf of something that they like to do or sort of share with their family and friends. So the idea for us is to allow advocates to exist outside of the realm of politics, which presents these issues as nonpartisan. And I think EV mandates specifically, because we're looking at it from the perspective of not being anti-EV, being technology neutral, it becomes a nonpartisan issue in that case.
What a politics thing in the EV neutral.
Technology neutral.
Technology neutral.
that.
Yeah.
You like that one?
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and it's funny because like we joke, like we go out of our way to not be a political podcast for that same reason.
Sure.
Like we just want to go have fun. Like we get accused of being Jeep guys, and it's like no, we're off-roaders.
Yeah.
We just like Jeeps because they're
drove a
good at
Lexus here.
off-roading. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's like at the shop we get all like, oh, you're a Jeep shop. No, like we're 4x4 specialists. Like you have a truck, you have a Toyota, we'll do any of it. And I think that lines up perfectly with what you just said. It's not that we don't want EVs and we're not trying to make a cleaner environment and better world for our grandkids and all the talking highlights that you hear.
Yeah.
It's just I want to be able to keep my Jeep.
Right.
Yeah.
Like
I want
or
to
buy a new one.
I don't want to buy a new one, but I want you to
I know.
buy a new one.
Have you looked at the price of them lately?
Yeah, well,
Especially because I want a 392, but yeah.
Hey, if you want
My
a
husband
Hemi,
has told me no. Yeah,
If
I
you
know,
need a
right?
new one of those.
if you need a Hemi, I got a guy that can hook it up.
Yeah, I've been put on a moratorium in our household. No more new vehicles.
Yeah. That's me too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
with advocacy is something that we preach is just being a good steward.
Yep.
So if you're a good steward in your community, like not being an ass and dropping trash on the trail and helping someone, like you have a high lift jack on your Jeep, help that little lady change her tire on the side of the highway. Like like just being decent in the community helps people shed a better light on what we actually do. Right. And it doesn't happen here in DC on Capitol Hill, but
and cars are a real unifier. I mean, everyone has an experience in a car. I mean, that it's one of those, it's not foreign to a lot of people to sit there and go like, well, I don't really engage with cars. Of course you do. You were picked up by a school bus. You drive to work. You get your family around to soccer practices and whatever. So it's really easy to bring a community together when you can say this affects everyone on a very base level. And there are people that are more into it than others, but at the end of the day, we can have a conversation at a certain level that meets you wherever you are.
Yeah, and with even like the most basic user, if you will, of my car as an appliance, you still have your, do I want Toyota or Ford? Like you still have a preference in the market because, I mean, there's so many options. So it's not just exclusionary to like, I don't care about cars. Obviously you do because you picked that one for a reason, like GE or Maytag or whatever else.
Whether it's the reviews or it works the best, whatever it is,
it tells you when your fridge is empty.
Everyone has a little stake, as much as they don't think. Everyone has a little stake in the right to choose, because the right to choose automotive or the right to choose. Like I don't care what you choose. Everyone has the right to choose because it affects you directly.
Yeah. And I think you also see it, and we've seen it, like, I think this whole issue over the EV policies, I think really went polarized really fast. But I think, again, the role that we played, the role that others played in terms of helping educate lawmakers, not just here in Washington, but in state capitals around the country, is, again, bringing that home story to them and understanding what the base level issue is and what you're going to do to the agricultural community. What are you going to do to urban communities? What are you going to do? You know, there's a lot more at stake than just sort of this notion of this is the solve all for whatever ills they're trying to solve. And so you see states like, you know, because there were 17 states that attached themselves to California's laws, which is, again, why this is so important here in Congress. Now there's 16 because Virginia decoupled itself. Thank you guys.
Rock and roll. I think we did an episode on it, the week that it got announced. I was very excited.
So we did a lot in voter education on that, but then you also see states like Connecticut and Maine who've pulled back and they said we're not doing this. Even Illinois' governor said, you know, appreciate the whole clean car movement. Illinois is not going to just simply follow California for whatever California decides. So I mean, those are huge wins in the sense that, again, it's bringing this issue a little bit back to the center and back to common sense, which, you know, I think we all would love to see more of in politics. And so, actually in politics,
not just politics, just in general, some common sense.
Common sense. So the fact is that I think, you know, bringing it back to center and kind of sort of putting kind of an end to this discussion so that we can start to look forward to the future and all the technologies that we have out there and stuff that we haven't even figured out yet. So
why do you guys give a shit about, like, what's your car story? Why do you guys give a shit about cars? Like, why are you
or is it just the greatest job you've ever had?
You know what? It is one of the greatest jobs I've ever had. I'm not a car guy. I didn't grow up.
But his kids think he's now cooler because of where he works. So he has
That's the next generation.
You're obviously cool.
It is kind of cool. But like, you know, when you look at the EV mandate stuff, like I grew up in Massachusetts and my parents came down, and when I was talking to them about this new job that I had with SEMA, which I started in July, I was explaining some of the issues and they're like, well, we don't have to worry about that. We're in Massachusetts. I'm like, oh, you are absolutely linked in with that. So,
I had that conversation with my sister literally 3 days ago.
Right.
Yeah.
So they don't realize that there's these broad implications, but like, you know, going back to like the car thing, I mean, there's little touch points throughout your life that you go, there have been things where I've really dug about cars and tried to do things. I just didn't have the foundational understanding to be able to, no one taught me how to like change my oil or to, you know, swap out a spark plug or something like that. But, you know, it's so ingrained in the American culture that like I can fake my way through it and I can appreciate what's there. And I'm eager to learn more about it. And this just gives me a platform to be able to engage with people that know what they're talking about. So maybe I have some people that I can be like, hey, can I swing by your garage in Sterling and
absolutely
show me how to do
anytime.
stuff?
Yeah, literally anytime.
That was not a theoretical. That was not hypothetical.
No, absolutely. I don't work there. Come on by.
I joke that the new shop's not as bad, but the old shop was a lot smaller, and I used to joke it was the orphanage because like all of our friends would get off work early and they'd just come hang out, and like, you know, we had the beer fridge and the couches, and it's just like, we can't get anything done. Like, don't you guys have homes? And they're like, yeah, but we'd rather hang out here. I'm like,
Right.
fair
Yeah.
enough.
Literally, one of our best friends we went to Moab with.
Yeah.
He was a Subaru guy, Travis.
Oh, yeah.
Subaru guy,
Yeah.
kind of understood it a little bit.
Car guy, and then
Yeah.
bought a Jeep, and
He's learned how to work
Yeah.
on his Jeep from hanging out at the shop working on
well,
the
it's
Jeep.
because he spends too much money, and now he has to work on his own Jeep. But
Fair.
that's
But
Can't pay you to do
yeah,
it. Yeah.
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 Our same thing with our buddy AK is he was a motorcycle guy. He bought
Yeah.
a Jeep because it was, I don't know why he bought a Jeep
he,
because
he just wanted a
yeah,
Jeep.
he just wanted a Jeep. But he's learned, not that he knows a lot,
he hasn't retained much. He's tried
but
to learn.
he's learned a lot just by hanging out.
He
and,
does
like,
change his own oil now.
chilling at the shop.
Yeah.
So literally, I mean, I don't know if there's any performance shops in DC, but if you say, "Hey, I'm with SEMA, I want to like learn about what you guys." If you walked into the shop and say, "Hey, I'm with SEMA,
Yeah.
I work downtown in DC doing advocacy stuff. Can I learn a little about what you do?" They will walk you around that shop all day long. show
I
you
just did that
everything.
actually out in Frederick a couple
Okay.
weeks ago. I was coming back actually from the PRI show, our racing show in Indy, and these guys at Dulles Airport went and sorry, do you want me to pause?
That's fine.
You're
Okay,
good.
so sorry, I'm now distracted.
We've fixed the pitfalls of
Yeah.
being in
We've
downtown
had
DC.
way worse interruptions.
Yeah,
We've had owls.
we recorded
Yeah.
from a firehouse.
We did
We've
record
done
from a
that too.
firehouse.
So I was coming back from the PRI show, which is our racing show in Indianapolis, and I'm at Dulles Airport, late at night. I'm, going in the elevator to get back to my Jeep, and this guy, and I had a PRI jacket on. It's like, he says something to me. I had my AirPods in. I'm like, what? It's like, hey, we just came back from the PRI show too. He's like, what were you doing there? I'm like, well, I work for them. He's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Anyways, turns
She's
out,
smart. She flew.
right? Yeah.
We drove to PRI.
I won't ask me when I'm driving out to Easter Jeep Safari how smart that is, but because I've got to take my Jeep out. But started chatting their members. Oh yeah, we've got this car restoration shop out in Frederick, Maryland. I was like, come on by. I was like, sure, cool. So I went out a couple weeks ago, played a little bit of hooky on Friday. I didn't think it was like full hooky because it was like I was going to meet members.
Yeah.
And it's just like this amazing facility that's out in the middle of a cornfield in Frederick that does all of these like really exotic Italian vehicle. Actually, it's not just Italian, but like, ISO Grifos, and which I actually like
I don't
never
know what that is, yeah.
it-
It's super exotic.
it's half Italian, half English. So it's like a Jaguar back end and a Ferrari front end. If I get that right. And if I screwed up, I'm sure you're going to get comments about it. But anyways.
Probably not. Our listeners are very much Jeeps
They're
and
like,
Hammers.
so whatto? But anyways, it's a very rare vehicle. They're not in production. That was a very small production run. But, they were doing Ferraris. And I mean, these are Ferraris that were
$1 million
like
cars,
multi-million dollar.
Yeah.
Like somebody found them in a garage in Germany and
Yeah.
brought them here. And so just a lot of really cool stuff. They were doing, a Jaguar Roadster, which, they're like, it's just for somebody to drive, but it's a classic. And so they just do this amazing work. And it's just really cool because, I got to spend a couple hours with them. I'm sure I was like in their hair, but, just showing
Yeah.
the level of detail of the work that they do and how they even source inventory. Because again, if,
couldn't imagine.
1965 or
Make it.
75 ISO
Yeah.
Grifo, right? Like, where do you find that? So it was just a really cool thing to see. And of course, they're expanding, obviously trying to find people to work on this stuff because it's not it's mechanical, but it's also amazing
Detail, yeah.
craftsmanship.
Yeah.
And so,
I mean, just in the off-road aftermarket, Tom has had a struggle
Yeah.
trying to find qualified mechanics to do
Yeah.
the job.
Yeah.
So I couldn't imagine for the niche
Oh, yeah.
niche market of almost Ferraris, almost.
Yeah.
yeah, these guys are just
Yeah.
amazing at what they do.
Yeah, I spent some time in the collector world. I worked at a car museum in Colorado out of
Okay.
college, and like that, I at the time wanted to continue on with it, but like I'm a hammer fixes everything kind of guy.
Yeah.
And
So
I
you
was
belong on a farm. Do you need a job on a farm? Because
no,
I may know something that might be open.
Hammers and Ferraris don't go well.
No.
no. And that was like my first car was a Jeep, and it just one of those things that I went from BMWs and detailing and doing all this other stuff, and I was like, this is dumb. Like I like Jeeps, I like off roading, like fit and finish matters, but it doesn't matter, and like you're just gonna scratch it anyway, so it's just spray paint versus like it doesn't take a week and a half just to prep one panel. I can do a whole frame in like 3 hours.
Or like my rock sliders, people are like, you scratch the rock sliders. I'm like, that's the point.
That's literally
so
the point of Jeep. Them.
Yeah.
So
what's your automotive background? How'd you end up in SEMA?
So, I mean, from a professional perspective, I got one of those unique opportunities in Washington where my profession met my passion. We don't get a lot of those opportunities. So when I got a call about the position, I obviously jumped at it. And then my husband's like, you must get that job. I'm like, okay, no pressure. But, you know, I've always loved vehicles. I grew up in a car town. I grew up in a GM town. My dad was in manufacturing, not automotive manufacturing, but manufacturing. So I grew up with that. So for me, I was really excited because I lived in a city for most of my adult life. And then when I married the West Virginian down the street from you guys, all of a sudden I'm like, ooh, I have land and I have a place to park multiple vehicles. So you're in.
There's a lot of things you can do when you don't have an HOA.
Yeah, I will keep you. Yep. So it was just that opportunity. And I've done ATVing probably most of my adult life, you know, just if I was somewhere vacationing or wherever, I would take that advantage. And then, of course, I could actually then buy and garage an ATV. And so I graduated from ATVs up to Jeeps, and now I have a couple of Jeeps.
So you've always been an off-roader then?
I like the off-road. I mean, it's not that I don't like racing. I raced for the first time last summer at the West Virginia Hill Fest. Yeah, which was a lot of fun. And I like closed course racing, so I don't hurt anybody else or they don't hurt me. So
the hills are kind of sketchy, but we'll get past that.
Yeah, well,
the nice thing about West Virginia, there are trees to stop you when you go off the road.
There are trees. They don't move very well. But then the best part was we were getting started and like, okay, so there are deer on.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And it's like, you shouldn't have actually told me that because I actually am kind of a little panicked. But thankfully, they don't jump out in front of you like they do out where we live. Yeah. So I like racing, but I really like off-roading. I like the challenge of it. I like it's just, I love the challenge of it, especially now that I've had the opportunity to go out west. Yeah. And what I started at on the east, like I've far surpassed in the west. Yep. May have involved a few tears here and there. So, like I said, I don't love heights.
Yeah. The tears for us were coming home. Yeah, because we were out in May. We were out in Moab, just like I said, we're out. What was a rock crawler Mob Moab with rock crawler, which we never saw. We saw the rock crawler guys at their hotel, like oh look, there they are. There's their
we were just
crawler
burned out by the time the event started because we were like, I'm not driving to Moab for 3 days, so we took an entire week. Yeah, and then we went the week before the event. Okay, and then it was just like one of those things where after 4 days of driving off road every day. That by the weekend we were just like, I don't feel like going to the pool party at the hotel, and so I'm tired. I'm going to bed. Like,
no, it is exhausting, and it's. I think one of the things that really struck me, especially because I've always just ridden with friends, and I was on private property a lot of the time on the east, down in the Shenandoah Valley and so forth. So
unfortunately, that's all we have.
Yeah, that's all we have. But I've always been privy to like kind of private access, and then living on a farm. But my one thing that was really cool about my first trip out to Easter Jeep is the community, like immediate friendships,
it's unbelievable,
like learning, and no man left behind, and who doesn't like a good wreck, right? Like let's fix it, or there's an axle broken or whatever. So we ended up I ended up making friends because we were stuck on a mountain for like 6 hours while everyone was trying to recover the vehicle that was in our group. And
us with the rental on Cane Creek.
Or Bubba at the Cove.
Oh, at the Cove, we've pulled a lot of people off the side of a mountain.
So it's just an amazing community, and like the people that I met that first trip are probably some of my closest friends in the industry now. There'll be a couple of them will be here actually this week.
Yeah, I'm excited to see Tom Zielinski's a good
Tom. Tom's a good friend. Greg Henderson, he's honestly the one that first let me. Actually, I have to take that back. The guys from RevKit were the first ones to like hand over the keys to their Jeep my first time out there, and I'm like, "Are you guys serious?" And they're like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Okay."
You can't break it any worse than any of us do.
It's wild how in the off-road community, if you don't look super sketchy, you can walk up and like make a quick friendship, and someone's like, "Yeah, just fucking drive it. I don't care."
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you know how many times I've been? We used to go to the Cove a lot. We need to get back, but just at the Cove, we leave our keys in the ignition. Yeah, and just like someone's like, "Hey, I'm taking your Jeep up to Bunny Hole." I'm like, "What's wrong with yours?" I just wanted. Okay.
But even the other end of that, where like we've been broken, like we did trail guide stuff for their events, and like somebody would break, and they would just be like, "Here, just take my Jeep. Like that group needs to go out.
Right.
Just take my Jeep." And it's like, okay,
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
you're trying to learn somebody else's Jeep. Like I remember borrowing Chris's YJ.
Oh,
the manual and no parking brake. So like we had to carry a rock
my
around.
God.
It had chains
God.
for
Oh my God.
And
chains
like,
for
being a trail
shots.
guy, you're always stopping to winch somebody
Right,
or
yeah.
spot somebody. And I'm like, I had Trevor with me, so like Trevor literally just rode around with a rock in his lap and be like, all right, we got to stop because if the fuel pump was going bad, so if I shut the Jeep off and
Right,
just couldn't put
right,
it in gear, throw the rock under it, like wait a second, hop out. It was just
Well, it's actually funny because we were at the Atlanta NASCAR race a couple weeks ago for an event, and
They
met-
gave you the keys to that?
Well, yeah, sure. Yeah.
With your Cletus, maybe.
And we there was another content creator out there, Garrett, who I knew by content like through Instagram, but didn't know him. So we're sitting there chatting, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I've been out to Easter Jeep Safari too." And I'm like, "Really? When were you?" "Oh, last year." And then turns out we were on the same rides together,
Oh, wow.
but hadn't connected. And then I was like, "Wait." He was like, "Were you on the rim ride that one night?" I'm like, "No, actually, I was smart enough not to." Actually, I had to work that night. I had to go sit in my hotel room and do work. But there, because one of the guys who part of the friend group that I now kind of hang out with, he had a 392 and some fluid started coming out, and so he's
Jeep's
like,
doing
"Yeah,
Jeep things."
yeah, exactly." And it was
It's
just
not
funny.
leaking, you got an issue.
And I was like, "Were you on the drive with the 392?" That he's like, "Yes," and I'm like, "Yeah, that's Nick."
Yeah.
So it's just funny because like we met in Atlanta randomly at an event we were hosting, and we were literally
Yeah, one thing that I've
with
learned
each
in
other.
my many years of off-roading, if someone asks you to go for a night ride, always say no.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
shit always happens.
Especially on Moab Rim.
Yeah, especially.
Yeah.
And if you, well, at least if you, it's dark enough so you probably don't realize how close to the edge you are
That's
on that trail.
usually me.
So that's
Or-
probably a good time to do it if
Well,
you trust your spotter.
my first time coming off. I forget which trail it was, but I was handed the keys. This is my first time out. Here, like finished off the ride. I was like, okay, so we were on a shelf road going down, and had actually Greg Henderson was guiding me on just some technique and whatever. He's like, you're on a two road. 2-lane road. I'm like,
Yeah.
And I was like, and if somebody's coming up at this time of night, they can go around on the outside.
Yep.
I am not going near that shelf.
I was gonna say the shelf road in Moab doesn't really narrow down the trail because everything is shelf road.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Or-
it's just
yeah.
So he's like, you're on the wrong side. I don't care. They should be going slow enough that they can stop
Yeah.
and go around.
So do you have any goals to get into the automotive sphere at all?
Yeah, I mean, I want to learn as much as I can. We're at a single vehicle right now as a household because we
Okay.
sent our daughter to college with the
Oh,
other
so
vehicle.
you don't look old enough to have a daughter in college. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that. But it presents an opportunity. It's like, oh, can we get like something that my wife can just drive around town, like because she works from home anyway. So
Yeah, sure.
just something that maybe we can just have and just work on and whatever. And
Are you guys in DC? Where do you guys live at?
I'm in Leesburg.
Oh shit!
Like I'm
okay.
Did you
legit,
miss that?
I'm like
I did miss
legit
that.
your neighbor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100% missed that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got the whole Western DMV represented
Yeah.
here.
The good
We were the furthest
I mean,
part.
it really is like the line is probably resting from like a car guy standpoint. I feel like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, and then maybe going south, like when you hit like Woodbridge and Stafford, I know
Right.
I lived in Woodbridge for a
Yeah.
while. There's a good car scene down there, but
Oh yeah.
And it's easy to call out because it's like I'll be in a parking
Yeah.
lot and or someone will drive by and I'll just point at me like those are our people.
Right.
Yeah.
that's the best part. And like we joke all the time where as kids, like I would go to a cruise night or whatever it is, and the muscle car guys are looking at you like, oh, what do you know about cars? And now like it's
us.
We're.
Are you
try
being
not to
judgy?
joke.
Are you guys
Yeah.
being the judgy guys now?
Actually,
no, I
surprisingly
only judge
not.
Bronco people.
Oh, okay. Wait, I
'Cause
thought
they-
you were all inclusive off road.
We are.
We
We judge
are.
everyone.
I just judge the Bronco people. We inclusively judge them. No, I mean, they just make better life decisions than Jeep owners, but they like to be
Better
mildly
back
comfortable.
suspension, the front.
Yeah. I also I spent I was a fleet mechanic for a while, so I have a thing about Ford as a whole.
Okay.
Like it's not just the Bronco, it's just all Fords.
Gotcha.
Like the door chime. I don't know if it's just
I
from
hate the door chime.
I don't know if it's from spending
ambulances.
hours underneath the dashboards of like F350s, but like the Ford door chime is the most infuriating
Okay,
noise.
now every time I have a rental Ford vehicle, I'm
You're gonna
now,
notice it.
like,
Yeah, oh, it's
notice
horrible.
it
It's
start
the
to
worst.
twitch.
Just
Yeah.
sit there with the door open and the key in it for
Okay.
a while, and you'll be like, "Oh, I
Okay.
get it."
Yeah, because
And
we have an old Ford on the farm.
Yeah, that doesn't count.
But yeah, I was
Yeah.
gonna
Yeah,
say
I would take an OBS 7.3.
Okay.
It's probably the only Ford I'd go out and buy.
Gotcha.
Or a Mustang.
So what's
But-
your?
sorry,
how,
yeah,
how do you
back-
want to get more involved with the automotive stuff?
So have you seen Shrinking? it's the Apple TV Plus
Oh,
show.
I think I did
Jason
watch-
Segel
yeah,
for
yeah.
How I Met Your Mother's in it. He drives around this I think it's a Bronco. It's like an old school Bronco.
It's a Scout.
It's a Scout.
I'm pretty sure it's a
It's
Scout.
like the dopest thing I've ever seen.
It's either a Scout or like the first gen Bronco. I only watched the first season.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to
That's
think,
the
but
car.
yeah.
That's the car.
Yeah.
And so I grew up on the beach. I grew up on Cape Cod, and we were local, so we had access to the beach and go to the outer parts that you couldn't go to if you were just a tourist showing up. And so I had a truck right out of college that I was able to take out on the beach for the purpose of hanging out with my friends and spending Sundays out there. And when we retire, beach community is 100% where we want to be, and it's that's the vehicle.
Yeah.
That's what I want. I want to have something like that I can just kind of have and just use it. So I think that's the new dream. That's literally
Your first gen Bronco, your Scout,
Yeah.
or something
this
along
is the
those
last
lines.
6 weeks kind of aspiration
Nice.
that
Well,
I've just
you'll
developed. Yeah.
Start saving.
Yeah, exactly.
Because neither of those are cheap.
Well, if you get them cheap, you got a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which makes them even more
Which there's
expensive
the
than...
I think the green one with the red door.
Yeah,
I think that
yeah,
one drives
Leesburg.
around Leesburg.
That's a Scout. Yep.
Yeah, that one's
we've done some
cool.
work on that
That's-
one. It's like a lime yellow if you ever see it.
I'll have to keep an eye out for it.
Lime yellow with
He
a red
daily
door.
drives it.
Is it
Does
an
it?
old
Yeah,
Scout?
it's a 76.
Okay. Yeah, my family had that.
Yeah.
My brother actually went and did a whole resto on it when it got handed down to him.
There's a very specific market for the Scout
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah.
Like there's a guy.
They're really hard to find.
Yeah, we rebuilt some transfer case for a guy whose side gig in Sterling Park is just restoring International Scout 2s
Nice.
out of his single family home 2-car garage.
Damn.
Nice. Love it.
Yeah,
So we got you a guy.
yeah.
Yeah.
See?
You just need about
Just gotta
$75K.
Open those doors.
Yeah.
Or you can buy the new EV Scout.
You can buy the
Yeah,
new
you
Jeep
can.
Scout.
It's an
I
option.
don't hate.
I do like that they made it solid axle.
I like that they made it solid axle. I also like that it's gas over electric,
Still-
like a locomotive.
It's still too expensive.
That's
but
cool.
that's
I
beside
know
the point.
Ram has that too. I think Ram just released
the
they
E-Force.
fucking called it the Ram Charger, and that pissed me off. That made me so mad. I'm like, it's a cool concept. Don't call it the Ram Charger. Oof. Sorry.
They gotta appeal. They're trying to
Oh,
convince.
they're appealing to the wrong people.
They're trying to convince us that EVs are cool.
It's like the Lightning.
That's a whole other podcast
That
of
is a
just
whole nother
marketing.
podcast.
But I think it's cool
Warfare.
that you're starting to get these value adds with the experience of
Yeah.
actually using these vehicles the
Yeah.
way that they were intended. Like the new Bronco has that access to all those properties throughout the
The
country that you
rodeos,
can go
yeah.
do. And I was like, that's such a cool thing to
Yeah.
have and say we're not just going to be an SUV. Sure you
Yeah.
are. The Hummers that just would get stuck in a parking lot.
We
but
talk
you know,
about
Hey,
all
they
the
got
time.
Rooster now. They're cool.
Every manufacturer has an off-road version of their vehicle. Honda's got the Trail Sport. Nissan's got Rock Creek. Ford's got Timberline. Literally everybody has it now, and it's fun because it I think it does. It opens up those people who would go buy the soccer mom truck to be like, oh wait, we can still go camping.
Yeah.
We can do this. So
Yeah, that's a vein that we've reached with the Lexus is you have a kid that just
Yeah.
went to college. I'm having my first kid, so
Yeah.
we sold the little car, which was a 2009 Sonata. We drove it to PRI.
Yeah.
Horrible
300,000
mistake.
miles.
Yeah, horrible mistake.
that's a saga.
But then we bought the Lexus, which is just like a good all around do it car, and it's a good entry level off roader.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing is even I had an Acura SUV and MDX, and again,
I like those. Those
with
are
my
nice.
friends, private areas down in Shenandoah, and I took that up on a shelf road, but at least we have trees so they catch us on the East Coast,
Yeah.
not on the West.
Yep.
Down into a creek bed, but but again, it was a great vehicle, all-wheel drive, was able to get up, no issues whatsoever. So again, I think the way that vehicles are made today, especially these off-road packages and everything like that, I think are fantastic. And as long as people, I have some friends that they sort of caught my husband's and my Jeep enthusiasm, and so they went and bought a really cool, lifted looking great Jeep.
Yeah.
They won't take it off-road. I don't want to get it dirty.
He's got an
Oh my
employee like
God.
that.
Yeah. My newest tech had a Tacoma when he started working. He's like, I don't know if I want to lift it. I was like, just lift it. Well, I'm going to void my warranty. And I'm like, do you know where you work? You're
Hello?
literally a professional mechanic. Like, you're going to take it to the dealer if it's got a problem? Yeah, you're right.
And a lift is not going to impact the engine, which is usually where you care
Some
about your
Yahoo
warranty.
at the dealership told him that they would void his lift. I'm like, why did you call and ask?
Yeah.
Now you're on some sort of watch list. Like, they're
watch
just
list.
like, oh, this guy's a sucker. He'll pay for anything because he likes lift kits. And it's like, you don't have to pay for anything. You are a mechanic with literally all the resources you could ever
exactly.
need.
Just buy the materials and
Yeah.
we'll put it on.
But it's also like he's a younger kid, so it's like the first nice thing he's had. He's
Sure.
like, I don't want to
Yeah.
ruin it. I'm like, that's a different
fair.
conversation.
Right. Yeah, because you can't afford to
Right.
replace it.
Right. Yeah.
I've been in that situation before. I still have nightmares about it.
I can't afford to replace it either, but I keep replacing
Right,
it.
you just keep
I don't
doing
fix
it.
it. I just buy another
Buy
one.
new junk. Yeah.
That sounds sort of like our household. So my husband bought a big AT4. He needed,
Okay. Yeah.
and we're both people that keep our vehicles pretty long and whatnot. So he went and bought an AT4 because I was like, I want something that can haul
Yeah.
a Jeep or
Yeah.
whatever else. However, I'm not allowed to drive it. I'm like, can I take the AT4 to Moab so I can not put the miles on my Jeep? And he just sort of looked at me like, no.
Oh, he's not going with you to Moab?
What was that?
He's not going with you to Moab?
I think he's going to fly and meet me.
Oh,
That's
smart.
a whole other story.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a whole
So
other
when we
story.
bought my
You gotta do the full 40-hour drive. Well, I guess the 3 night.
don't do that.
See, I've done it myself. Like
Yeah.
I've done it in 2.5 days. Or when I came back from Moab
We
last
did it in
year.
2.5 days, but we never
We never
slept.
stopped.
Oh, see, I stopped. I got like a
Yeah,
good solid
no.
6 hours and then kept going.
We drove straight through, but we didn't account for Jeeps not doing 75 miles an hour. Because
yeah.
like the GPS tells you it's like a 29-hour straight
Yep.
through. And I'm like, oh, that's nothing. 36 hours into it, we're just now
65
crossing
miles an
through
hour,
Denver.
yeah.
Because we had to do 60 miles an hour, and our buddy's LJ could only go like 200 miles before
yeah,
it needed
yeah.
fuel.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's-
no, I was by
yeah.
myself. I had my Sour Patch Kids
Yep.
and my iced tea, and I was good to go.
See, I'm Mountain Dew and peanut M&Ms. If I have Mountain Dew and peanut M&Ms, it's white trash, but I could drive for days.
That's
with
all
Mountain
right.
Dew.
It's
forgot
all
the
in what you
smelling
feel
salts.
yourself.
The smelling salts.
Which
are
do you have
important.
those? I'm gonna need those for the weekend.
No, but I can get you some.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, like I kept getting phone calls along the way from all my friends who were in Moab,
Yeah.
just checking in.
You coming? You here?
Well, no, this is me going home, and
Okay.
they were like, "Okay, you good? A couple hours, you good? A couple hours later, you good?"
Stop calling me. I'll
I
let
was
you know
like,
if I'm
"Okay,
not.
I'm good. I'm
Interrupting
good."
my podcast.
But thank you. But thank you.
Yeah,
So
just,
it was really great.
just avoid Morgantown to Zanesville, Ohio.
Oh,
that's
Zanesville.
that's
Yeah,
our
I did
black
that
hole.
one. I did that one, and that was when I finally did my last 4 hours because
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not staying 4 hours from home
Yeah.
at this point, so I'm just gonna like motor right through.
The last 2 out of the 3 times we've driven through there, we've broken down.
Yep.
Oh, have you really?
Like
I guess because you
in
hit
that
the,
stretch. It's
yeah.
just it's like a black hole for
Yeah.
us. It's
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah, I tried to go wash my Jeep at the car washy thing. There's a big gas station and car wash. Like it's just like
Okay.
one of this like super cool car wash. And so I was like, oh, I'll go in there. And then I was like, oh, they don't have like an automatic one. Like you have to actually physically wash it. I'm like, no, that'll add like 30 minutes to my time. I gotta go.
I'm out. I'm out.
Yeah,
I'm out.
I'm still covered in red mud.
So what is it? Tying it all back in because I know you said you're busy. What does it look like to actually be here and be on the hill and try and make a difference to advocate for our sport, our passion? Like if someone was interested in showing up, what are we doing tomorrow?
Well, all the folks that are coming in, they're here to meet with their lawmakers and tell the story directly. You know, sort of say like all of us that work here, we're your sort of entry point, we're your mouthpieces every single day. But at the end of the day, having the individual business owners talking to lawmakers about the impact of what this is really important because it now ties it back to you as constituents, you as voters, you and all your friends who are voters who you're going to talk to. And especially with the reach of this industry and how much we live online for like all of us, we live online. You know, it's a pretty impactful thing. And so I think that's really the big key is so people in the future who can come on out to DC for one of our rallies, we'll have another one next spring, broader issues. Hopefully this one's put to bed, but fingers crossed. But you know, we'll have broader issues, but making that connection and helping people helping lawmakers and their staff understand there's actually real people behind what it is that they're trying to do and people that are impacted. So it's really, we provide the entree, we soften the ground for you, sort of point you in the right direction. But at the end of the day, you guys are the ones that can close the sale.
Yeah.
And creating a relationship that helps you become a resource for those future issues. We're here largely right now for the EV mandate stuff. There's going to be a lot of stuff that's coming down the pipe that we're like, we need to have those relationships, and we need to be seen as a credible organization, as a credible industry, as a credible group of community, to be able to help move the needle and have a voice at the table. So I think, having those relationships, not just with lawmakers, but with their staff, so that you can be someone that they can pick up the phone and call, drop an email to, that you can see when they're at home doing their constituent visits in their home districts, that they can basically say, I want to know more about this issue. What can you tell me? Help me understand.
Yeah.
Or come visit your, you've got a shop.
Yep.
Come visit your shop. No shop is too small. No facility is too small. And, I think, again, because of the size of our industry and especially our community writ large, we have a really, really powerful voice. And, even last week, 2 weeks ago, one of our SEMA board members, but also longtime SEMA member, her member of Congress came to visit her facility. And, probably somebody that maybe don't see eye to eye on a lot of issues. But the fact is, the congresswoman walked in and said, SEMA is everywhere in DC.
Yeah,
And I was like, cool.
Yeah.
But that's not just our work. It's all of the amplification and everything that the community is doing on the issues that matter to us, whether it's the EV mandates, whether it's off-road and public land access, whether it's taxes, whether it's tariffs, whether it's all of the different issues we're dealing with.
So one thing Tom said as we walked out of here to go get coffee to come back, he just said, I feel like we're going to be in this office more than we're going to want to be. It's really cool. So growing up,
we'll get you couches just like your shop. And you can hang out.
Yeah.
Don't tell my wife that.
Yeah. So growing up for me, SEMA was the cool car show on TV.
Yep.
Overhaul was building cars. There was this, that, and the other. It wasn't until I think a year ago when we went to SEMA for the first time that I realized that there was this aspect to it.
Yep.
And now I'm like, as cool as the show is, I want to be involved in SEMA on the political, I want to be involved because without you guys here, there is no show. Mm-hmm. There is nothing else happens if it's not for the 7-8 people in this office. I didn't actually count desks. It
That's
seems
okay.
like
There's 10 of us.
10 of us. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Close enough. Yeah. If it wasn't for the 10 of you here in DC lobbying and putting in the good fight day to day, there would be no show at the end of the year.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. And it's something that I mentioned in the content creator meeting on Thursday or Friday.
Yeah, Thursday.
And I'm like, how can we get SEMA Action Network, whatever the new thing is, SEMA PRI, SEMA. Mm-hmm. How can we get that tied in with the show so that way those guys that go to show off that build also know that they're at risk of losing that opportunity to build that cool shit.
Yeah. I mean, there's more and more stuff that we're doing at the show from an advocacy standpoint. And, I think one of the things where you get to really connect with a lot of folks is our political action committee. So we host a special event for our PAC donors, at the show. And it's pretty low cost of entry for folks that want to have, access to a cool reception, have a full bar and some food, and quite frankly, meet with some.
We'll be there.
We're signing you up.
You're paying for that one.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's cheaper than going out to dinner in Vegas. So,
also true.
I mean, and we have pretty good food at those things.
We do.
So, but you also get to meet with a lot of industry leaders, famous brand names that we all see and have shopped at and shopped more than we probably want to admit.
Yeah.
They're all in the room, and because their livelihood, their business that they've built relies on the outcome of the politics that we deal with. And so it's been a really big growing part of our segment. So folks that are coming to the show, we'd love for people to join the PAC. Again, we have a special event, and then we also have a lawmakers event that we bring lawmakers from around the country, state and federal. Because I mean, I don't know what your first experience at the SEMA show was, but I remember my first experience. I knew it was a big show, right? I've seen it on TV, seen it on YouTube. But there's nothing like walking up to it and being like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
It was his first was my second. Mm-hmm. And you had been to the NADA show with Mackenzie.
Yeah, which was big.
And he was like, no, I get it. I'm like, I'm telling you.
Don't get it.
It's you, because he was just in Vegas for NADA, and he's like, yeah, they had the entire West Hall. I was like, that's one hall of SEMA. You don't get, and then I remember walking in with you and you're like, I get it now. Yeah, I get it.
To all the halls, all the parking lots,
and it's tight. It's like every other trade show. We go to Overland Expo the last few years, and there's room. There's space to move around. SEMA is packed.
Yeah.
And the
inside and outside.
The last 2 or 3,
Yeah.
everyone tells me, "Oh, you should have seen it 10 years ago. Like
Right.
it was way worse." And it's like, "Oh man, like I can't imagine it tighter than it is."
Yeah.
Well, I remember after my first show, it's when we still had SEMA Ignited. So, all of the drifting,
Yep.
burnouts, all that kind of stuff on the Friday night. And I had to take a flight home early the next morning, and I still had tire pieces in my hair, and I smelled of automotive.
Oh yeah.
And I'm just
brother.
I got on the plane. I just kind of giggled to myself. I'm like, I'm sorry for anybody that's sitting next to me.
Is it
I'm
me
like,
or does it
"Excuse me
smell like
while-"
burning rubber in
Yeah,
here?
like, excuse me while I'm like pulling
Can someone let the pilot know it smells like this?
yeah, something burning. It's like, no, it's just me.
Yep.
So
That's cool that you guys are getting your name out there in a bigger way to
Yeah.
get more involved and to have people know that you actually exist, because like I said, I'm sure a majority of the SEMA members don't really know
Yeah.
what happens behind the
And
scenes.
yeah.
I don't want to say car guys are lazy, but I feel like
They're so consumed by what they do that they don't care about anything else.
But also content, right? Like I have my car. I have like if you're not in the industry on the business side of it, where like I own a shop and I deal with this all day, every day, times 100, because I have everybody else's cars to worry about. If you're just a car guy and you're an accountant and you like your car and you go to Cars and Coffee on Sunday morning and like you just kind of go about your business, you may not even realize all this stuff is going on in the background. And like the more it's out there, I think the more people will realize, and it's bigger than politics, right?
Yeah.
It's not a matter of who you voted for. It's just a matter of being able to continue doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
And we have that unique industry where it's not just mechanics and car, like people in the industry. It's everybody who has a car and likes cars. Like the majority of the community aren't mechanics and in the industry, but they're part of the industry, and it's,
and part of the
can't let
community.
it go away.
And there's a lot of different ways. So like obviously if you're a business and becoming a SEMA business member, obviously a huge benefit. I'd say we were probably the most affordable DC lobbyist in town. When you look at like the dues to ratio, because we do answer your phone calls, unlike some other trade associations in town. Sorry, it's a little pet peeve of mine. But the fact is that, if you're just an enthusiast and you just want to keep up on legislative, you can join SEMA Action Network. There's no fee to that. Or you can join our SEMA Plus, which is the individual membership program. So creating that connectivity to people that want to be part of this brand, part of this community. Not, obviously you have the advocacy part of it, but then there's also, we offer a whole bunch of discounts and stuff, not only for industry members, business members, but also we also have a bunch of like just basic consumer brands where people can also do that. So we try to add a value. It's a value add for anybody who wants to be part of this community at whatever level they want to be part of it.
Yeah, and then we were talking about AJ, and you said you do a lot of membership stuff for SEMA Plus, correct? So how can we talked about it a little bit at PRI. How can the guys on that side of the camera that aren't affiliated with a shop or anything get involved with SEMA if they don't like work somewhere
SEMA, so again, SEMA Action Network if they just care about the legislative stuff, but then you've got SEMA Plus, which is like a $40 membership. That's the individual membership. Usually you can find a discount somewhere to help offset that a little bit.
Use code DIRTDRIVE.
What was that?
Use code DIRTDRIVE.
We could do that. Yes, Dirt Drive. I will email AJ as soon as we get off the phone.
And she'll be stoked. Yeah,
she'll be like, sweet.
Use code DIRTDRIVE to sign up for SEMA.
Dirt Drive. All right.
Comes out,
Let me write this down. I'm like, what did we say? But yeah, so there's a lot of opportunities that way because again, it provides you the advocacy side of it. It provides you the discounts to like basics, Apple products or whatever.
I use it for our shop insurance.
Yeah.
I have it through the SEMA.
Yeah, through the business membership. Yep. And then, the other thing too is that we're getting ready to release is we'll also be, so Friday of the show, we've opened up to consumers. So people that are SEMA Plus members will have a discount for those tickets. Okay. So more to come on that. But if there's one reason to become a SEMA Plus member, whether it's whatever reason you want, also having a discount to come into the show is going to be one of those benefits that we'll be rolling out in the next month or so. Cool.
Do you want to drop your socials so people can know where to find you and where to follow you at?
What is our social?
Where's Lauren? Lauren!
Yeah, I know. Somebody knows.
SEMA at SEMA SAN, S-A-N. That's the SEMA Action Network. That's going to be where you can find your grassroots and advocacy engagement. It's going to be where we lower the bar of entry for advocacy issues.
We raise the bar but lower the entry level.
Right.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
help people understand what's going on, and then we'll let you know if we need your help.
Yeah, but semasand.com, and that'll have all our socials and everything like that. So
sign up for the email drops. I get those
Yep.
I was like,
way too often.
I get-
PRI does them all
Yeah.
the time.
I get them to all of my emails because
Yeah,
I
I do
have
too.
like my
Multiple.
original
You're one
email
of
from
those
when I was in
people that messes up our
college.
database.
Probably.
Okay,
Yeah.
excellent.
But they're all
Great.
different emails. Sorry.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, go sign up there. Thank you guys for joining us such last notice. Thanks for putting this on such last notice. I'm excited to go do this. I was trying to explain what it was to my coworkers. I'm like, EVs, good but bad, don't want mandate. And they're like, cool, go have fun in DC.
Hey, at least you're going to get a good meal out of it.
Yeah, hell
good
yeah.
Italian meal.
Yeah, hell yeah. I told my wife, so my wife works in an association in Arlington. And she's like, you going there? And I'm like, yeah, is it good? She's like, yeah, we did a tasting the other week and it was so good. I'm like, awesome.
Yeah, it's actually, so fun fact, well, my boss may mention this at dinner tonight, but it's actually when I was interviewing to come to SEMA, my sort of final interview was dinner at this restaurant. And so it's just kind of a special kind of place 2.5 years later.
Hell yeah.
So it's the go-to for you guys.
It's good luck, right?
Yeah.
So that's the way I looked at it.
There
I was
you
like,
go.
hey, it turned out pretty
You can't
good
go wrong
the
with
last
Italian
time.
food.
Yeah.
I'm biased, but you
Well,
can't go
my
wrong
boss
with
is
Italian
Italian, so everything he's like,
Hey.
yeah, wherever you want it. He's like, I was like, what kind of food do you want? Anything that rhymes with Italian. It's like, okay.
So we know your work social media. Do you want to share your personal social media, or is that locked down? for
No,
people
it's
to
not
find
locked
you?
down. My Instagram, which is probably my most open one, is at DC Jeep N Food. So
Okay.
so it's DC Jeep, the letter N Food.
Okay.
I probably should be better about that and call it something
fine.
SEMA, but I just
You
haven't
don't
gotten
gotta do
around
that.
to it.
Yeah.
So I screw up my algorithms because I'm really good about posting for a while, and I get like a lot of
Yeah.
good traction, and then all of a sudden I like go dark because
ghost.
I'm so tired.
I do the same
That's
thing.
us.
I do the same thing with the
that's not
podcast.
just me. And you actually do this stuff, right?
Well, sort of.
It's exhausting.
Depends on who you ask.
Yeah.
You have any social medias you want to share?
Instagram's at Matt Daigle, M-A-T-T, D as in David, A-I-G-L-E. And I stole that from the deaf artist who is internationally famous.
Oh,
Wow.
Okay.
nice.
Do you
And
get
he'll
random requests
soon
for paintings?
to have international scout content, hopefully.
Yeah.
There we
Right.
go, yeah.
Exactly.
We'll start helping you build it.
Looking
Yeah.
forward to it.
Gotta find one first.
Yeah, for real. Thank you guys for watching. I forgot to mention this at the top episode. We are the Dirt Drive, powered by Jeepcables. Thank you, Jeepcables, for sponsoring us for the month of
Literally powered.
March.
Yes. We are in
March, yes, the month of March. Go to the website, use code DirtDrive, get free shipping. Upgrade your power system on your Jeep 4x4, anything off-road.
Diesel truck.
Diesel truck.
Yep.
It really makes a difference. Tom
It
got-
does.
Tom got
I
more
swear to you, my
horsepower.
Jeep is faster.
I have a Jeep diesel, so
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
love it.
Well, cool, guys. I appreciate it. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for hanging out. And
Thanks for
we'll
having us.
Thanks.
frickin' see you later.
All right.
Heck yeah.